Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Stuff I Heard podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Peak, and this is the 4 year anniversary. Well, actually, yesterday was the 4 year anniversary of me starting this podcast. And I know that this is not what anybody signed up for. I know this is not what I signed up for. This has turned into whatever it's turned into, which is a almost a fly on the wall conversation of sorts. With me telling you about things that are going on in my personal life, things that are going on with shows that I'm watching on TV, my take on it, that sort of thing. And I'm hoping that I'm helping generate some conversation between people, and I'm hoping that it's helping people in some way. But I don't know. I don't know if any of this matters um, as much as it matters to me. I guess that if I wasn't doing this, I would probably need to see a therapist and pay them money for me to tell them all the stuff that I've been thinking and doing and going through. And it would probably be more helpful if I was paying a therapist because then I would get some more feedback. But, I figured it's better to have it out of my head than in my head. Um, at the end of the day, I'm still happy with what I'm doing, and I'm still happy with the fact that people come up to me randomly and just like, "Hey, I'm listening to the podcast. I really like it." And listen, it was nice um, to help people along the way in the last 4 years promote the businesses that they have. In this past year, I know that specifically we've had Kelvin Durant on to talk about A New You Counseling and A New You Speaks, and we've had Matthew Tarleton on to talk about Part Time Struggle at parttimestruggle.com, his website, and his blog and his podcast. um, both having to do with mental health, both having to do with the fact that they want more people to talk about mental health and to get more involved in mental health and to seek help, more often than they do. Um, I've had on various friends at different times to talk about the things that were going on in their lives. My friend Greg Steele is still doing the cryptocurrency stuff, although he hasn't put out a podcast in quite a while. He is still actively pursuing the Discord part of cryptocurrency and learning about Ethereum and all sorts of stuff like that. And if you're curious about more to do with that, reach out to Greg at his information, which is, God, how do I find him? 95 Band Albany, Georgia on Facebook. Yeah, 95 Band Albany, Georgia Facebook. Um, they're working on putting up some new video clips on Facebook. I don't know if they've figured out a way to go around using YouTube, but the Facebook seems to be better for what they're doing. And some people have taken an active role in that, which is good. They need somebody there local that can do that. Here in Florence, we've had, Victor Webster was on this past year to talk about sweetgrass vodka. And, you know, I'm really encouraging people out there to try sweetgrass vodka, give it a chance. There's a great story behind it. If you go back and listen to the episode, it's really good. He talks about the fact that during the pandemic last year, they converted over their line. And instead of rolling out with a new product to hopefully sell product, they realized there was a need for hand sanitizer and they completely converted their entire line over to sell or to give away hand sanitizer to the first responders. And they lost millions of dollars. I mean, millions of dollars. And it wasn't for anything other than the fact of they saw a need and they tried to fill a need. And they almost all went homeless in doing that endeavor. And a year later, after the pandemic had sort of lifted some of the restrictions and people were starting to get vaccinated and immune, whatever they call it, herd immunity was starting to take effect. Um, then they started selling their product, and I've bought a couple of their bottles. It's pretty good. I'll continue to support local people and local business, but also if it wasn't any good, I wouldn't buy it. And just to be honest, it's not bad. I'm not typically a liquor drinker, but whenever we're making some mixed drinks, it is my go-to for vodka, just because of the story. And listen, if there's nothing else, you need to hear the story and support local. Support people trying to do the right thing. So, with all that being said, what's going to be in store for us in year 5? Well, I don't know. I have no idea. I know that right now we are dealing with rising gas prices and a crazy scenario where Amanda Heard and Johnny Depp are in some kind of lawsuit over defamation of character. I guess she had claimed that he had abused her, and now it's coming out into court that apparently she did all the abuse, and he was actually very fearful for himself. He tried to seek help, he tried to reach out, and nobody would listen because it was during the Me Too movement, and she thought, hey, this is my chance to get attention for me because she's crazy. Take what you will from it. That's what I've taken from it so far. I think that when this is all said and done, they're probably going to pull her out of any future projects for anything. And she'll be lucky if she doesn't have to pay him a lot of money for defamation of character. And we'll probably see a lot more of Johnny Depp in the future. And hopefully he'll talk about this going forward and maybe do some podcasts. It'd be really good to see him on Rogan because Rogan could ask some legitimate questions that maybe Johnny would be comfortable talking about. And it just feels weird calling him Johnny. I mean, Johnny Depp, Johnny. He's like older than I am at this point, isn't he? Just John Depp. John, we need to talk. But yeah, I think it would be an interesting conversation. So who knows? Who knows what it'll bring? I know in the last podcast I mentioned that I was having trouble with iMovie. I tried to uninstall and reinstall, and I tried to reboot, and I tried to change the projects, and I tried to do a lot of things that people had suggested were fixes. And literally, I was just about to go to bed that night after posting the podcast through. I had sent it like a airdrop to my phone to then send it to YouTube. And I had just done that when my dad called and he says, "Have you tried this?" And I said, "Yes, I have several times." He goes, "Try it again." And I tried it again, and then everything worked. And I was like, "Well, okay." How about that? That worked amazingly. So listen, sometimes you can look at a problem so many times, so often, and mess with it so often that you think you've fixed the problem and you've just overlooked the fact that you've done the same mistake over and over again. And for whatever reason, talking to him on the phone and going through the process, just doing it another time worked. I don't know exactly know how, but he just goes, yeah, try it one more time, just see what happens. And it did. Everything worked. So I still am on the curb of whether or not to purchase a decent program like Final Cut or Premiere Pro or something like that and use all of the tools that are there. I know that it would be a lot for me to learn, and I don't exactly have a lot of time to devote to learning a lot of new things. But it could enhance the way this whole thing looks and sounds, and I'm just kind of curious about everybody's input. What do you think? What would be your desire out of this? What would you like to do? What would you like to see or hear different? I know that a lot of my videos are simple point and click and shoot kind of deals where what I say comes out of my mouth and that's it. And then I just post it and I don't have a lot of editing. There's very few times I have to edit because I am mindful of the fact that the camera's rolling. And I guess out of habit of doing it so often, it's a one take kind of situation. Only on a few occasions where I have multiple things going on or something comes up in the background where I have to pause it and go, all right, I got to take that part out or, oh, let's take two. But for the most part, what I want to say, I try to get out as soon as I can and give you the information as soon as possible. Whenever I have videos posted online that were from long ago, I get comments all the time of, golly, get to the point. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine, whatever. It is what it is. I'm trying to have a conversation with you guys, even in my old videos, and I'm trying to share information. So I know that sometimes it can be long-winded, and it's not in any other reason than I'm just trying to share with you my thoughts on the process. Sometimes there's nuggets of good stuff that come out of it, and sometimes it's just a bunch of talking. And to be honest, I hear me talk all the time, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing me talk. I'm sick of hearing me yammer on about anything. There's days where I wish that I didn't have to talk. But it's what I signed up for. And I don't know. To me, it's better than the alternative of not having a voice. I mean, right now in Russia, there's a big thing with Putin trying to control the media. And I'm listening to Dan Cummins' podcast, Time Suck, where he's talking about the Holocaust. And he's talking about a lot of similarities between Nazi regime Germany led by Hitler and how he controlled the media and how he did all this stuff just before creating one of the biggest genocides in history. And he's like, this is a lot of the same stuff that Putin is doing right now. And he's not wrong. And there's other countries now that have been joining NATO because of what Putin is doing, because they see the writing on the wall. I mean, Finland and Switzerland recently declared that they want to join NATO because they see Russia and Putin specifically as a threat. Not Russia in general. Russia, for the most part, is made up of people, and the people don't make the decisions. It's the people in charge, right? And right now they're like, hey, if we don't join NATO, like we could be gobbled up here soon. Like he could just turn his focus towards us, and next thing we know, we're all trying to speak Russian because we're being made to. And that's not cool. Everybody wants the rights to be able to live freely and to be able to govern themselves and to be able to make choices for themselves. And we've had a lot of stuff in the news come through lately, and I've tried to not burden you guys with the conversations of that kind of stuff, but I know it is real. I know it's out there. I mean, Roe versus Wade is being debated again, and there's a lot of arguments for the supposed Christian sect who says that we're killing babies. Okay, that's part of your conversation. The other part of the conversation is the fact that abortion. Some people feel that abortion was established to be legal because it helped control the population, because they felt like it kept the brown people down. Because if they could, for the most part, control their social economical situation, then they could also control how many children they have. And if they just give them the ability to abort kids more often, then they can keep the population even lower. And I know that sounds dark, but I've heard that from people. And I guess I'm easy to talk to because people tell me their crazy ideas from time to time, and some of them aren't totally crazy. Some of them have some backing to them. Some of them are based on reality. Um, I heard somebody else say that the banning of the abortions is going to hurt the poorest people first, because the people who have money are going to afford to have their own special doctors be able to do abortions. And the people who aren't are just going to have kids out of wedlock and in situations where they're maybe raped or tortured or taken advantage of by someone older and maybe someone in their own family. And instead of being able to abort the baby, then it becomes a drain on society because it maybe has birth defects, or it may be that the mother doesn't want the child, or that the mother commits suicide, or that the mother tries to have an abortion through someone with nefarious means or no ability, and then ends up killing the mother and the baby in the process. And the fact that anybody is debating this other than women makes me crazy. I was raised by a very strong woman. My mom was a very strong, dominant force, and she was raised to never hold her tongue. Her mother, my nana, was one of the most vocal women that I've ever met in my life. And if she had a thought, it was coming out of her head, but it was usually in the stance of right versus wrong. And sometimes, even in the wrong, you can be right. And I learned to debate from these women. I learned to understand that there are some conversations that don't need to be had by everybody. And to me, women's rights, over the fact of having an abortion or not, is not something that should be debated by men at all. Men shouldn't even have a say in it. There is a social economical impact of this. There is the idea that if we allow the abortion rights to be criminal, then we are going to end up in a situation with a lot of unwanted kids, and a lot of situations where kids may be born with birth defects, or children having children because they're maybe having sex too young, or maybe they were made to have sex too young. I mean, we hear all the time about, young children being sexually abused by older men, and then they become pregnant. And there are men judges out there making crazy declarations of, oh, well, she wouldn't have got pregnant if she wasn't into it. And it's like, what are you saying? Why do we allow men to have a voice in this at all? Like, why is this even okay? To me, this is more control. This is more a situation where the government, quote unquote, the government, led by mostly men, is trying to have a voice over what other people do with their bodies. This is really, to me, a tipping point of, right on the cusp of them telling you have to have this vaccine, which may not actually be a vaccine. when I was a kid, I was taught a vaccine was something you got, and then you no longer had the thing anymore. Now I've had 3 boosters of this supposed vaccine, and they're going, well, maybe there's a fourth coming. That's not a vaccine. That's you coming up with a shot that we're supposed to have once in a while because you deem that it's important. Meanwhile, a lot of people got rich off that. A lot of government people got rich off that because they bought into companies that were then making the vaccine, and the media spun the thing so that they could have eyes and viewership on their channel. And I heard on the radio today that the whole Amanda Heard and Johnny Depp thing, excuse me, John Depp, that they had the most clicks on any social media at overall, more than the war against Russia and the Ukraine, more than Elon Musk's potentially buying Twitter, more than the economy, more than the fact that the rising fuel costs has made it so that owner operators can't drive their own companies and drive their own trucks, and they are literally floundering trying to find work because they can't afford to put diesel in their trucks. Diesel now is getting close to $6 a gallon here in South Carolina. It's even higher out west. Gasoline here in South Carolina right now is an average of like 4.30, 4.40 a gallon for the cheap gas. For California this morning, I saw it was 6.31. So, what's going on? Are we being made to be distracted from all of the things that are important so that we don't focus on the things that are important? Is all of this helping anybody? Is the rising fuel cost just the result of inflation and the fact that we haven't had a rising gas price to reflect the inflation? Or is the inflation caused by the rising gas price? Or is the inflation caused by the fact that we keep printing trillions of dollars every time a new president's in office? Why? What's going on? I need an economist to talk to find out what they think. I know a few economists. Matter of fact, I know Larry Roscoe's out there listening. Hey, if you happen to be listening to Larry, I want to talk to you about your thoughts on this. I think you'd have some good input. We are distracted. We are heavily distracted by all the things going on. Right now, I mean, I had to go get gas for my lawnmower. It's $30 to fill up a small canister to get gas for my lawnmower. Why? I got 5 gallons. Why was that $30? I don't know. I don't know the right thing to say anymore. I don't know the right thing to do anymore. I don't know if being distracted is the best thing. I don't know if being hyper focused is the best thing. I almost just want to have a beer and kick back and watch it all burn. I mean, I don't know. I'm right there with everybody else. I am on board with whatever you're thinking as well. A lot of this crap doesn't make any sense. I am getting older. I can see how my grandparents, when they finally reached the age of elderly, they all told me that they were ready to go when time came because they said that they're just not for this world. Like this world has passed them by, and it's like I can't even deal with what's going on. And I'm 48, and I sort of feel that way now. I mean, it is increasingly getting to where every time I hear a news report, I just roll my eyes and think I don't even care. I don't even have time for this. This is so crazy. Like every time I turn around, there's a new crisis that is making the world supposedly fall apart. And, like most people, I'm sick of it. I think I've heard enough. And I'm like, okay, we get it. It's all falling. The sky is falling. Whatever. So what's the answer? What do we do? I've tried and tried to focus on the positive and tried to talk about the fact that people can do anything if they put their minds to it, and you can achieve anything if you put your mind to it. But maybe not. Maybe people aren't all like me. Maybe other people just suck. Think about it. Think about the people you know in your close circle of friends or family. I'm sure you can pick out a group of people in your family that's pretty awesome and another group that really sucks. For whatever reason, they just suck. They suck at life. They suck at decision making. They suck at waking up in the morning. They suck at getting the things done. They suck at planning. They suck at whatever. They suck at relationships. There are elements of people out there that just suck. And it is what it is. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's part of life as well. And I don't know what I'm supposed to say or do about it. I mean, I try to support the people who are doing great things. I try to talk about those things. I try to promote those things. And oftentimes I put videos up and I put podcasts up and I get people coming back to me saying, "Hey, you suck." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm trying." Like, what have you done? What is your input? I mean, all we can do is try, right? I don't know. I listened to a really good Two Bears, One Cave this morning. Chris Distofano had stepped in for Tom Segura with Bert Kreischer, and they talked about being dads, and they talked about trying to be there for their kids and trying to make it as comedians and trying to be successful, but also trying to balance that work home life. And Bert has talked about the fact that he was broke when his first daughter was born, and he was on the road consistently for most of their lives growing up. And his daughters now are 17 and 15, and Chris is like, I'm struggling, and what's the answer? How do you do it? And Bert's like, you can't. I wish I could tell you can, but you can't. And he goes, well, how do you deal with it? And he goes, I don't know. And he's sitting there with a cocktail, and he's like, I guess you drink at 10 a.m. I mean, and and the more real they got, the more they both broke down and cried. And it is heartbreaking to know that you're trying everything you can, and it just doesn't seem to work out. I had a conversation with one of our kids who said, you know, I just don't like my job, and I should. And I said, who do you think you are? Nobody likes their job. I don't know. I couldn't count on one hand people who say they really love their job. You're just supposed to do your job. A job is a job. You do your job, you make money, you go home. You use the money to do the things that you want to do when you're not at work. And hopefully you get enough home time that you can do that. Sometimes you have to make decisions that money is not as important as your home life. Sometimes you have to make decisions that, hey, maybe I don't need to work 70 hours this week. Maybe I can only work 50. I mean, and then you got to deal with the fact that sometimes your wife doesn't like the fact that you're only working 50 hours. You have to make decisions. You have to choose, and you have to live with those consequences. At the end of the day, you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you have to answer everything to yourself because you're the only one that you have to really answer to. Whenever you make a decision and you go, oh, I'm going to do this thing and I know it's probably the wrong thing, but I'm going to make this decision to do it anyway because I feel like it's the right move for me, then you got to live with the fact that you were being selfish and you made a decision for you. If you do something for someone else and you don't get your reward like you think you should, then okay, that happens. But you got to realize that you made a choice to do that as a gift. A gift is very unusual. A gift is the idea that you're going to do something for somebody even though you don't expect anything in return. I'm going to say that again. A gift is giving or doing something for someone knowing that you don't expect to receive anything in return. Anything. That's a gift. Okay. And either you're the kind of person that feels good giving or you're the kind of person that feels good receiving. It's hard to be both. I'm uncomfortable receiving. I have weird expectations for myself and for others, and I am more comfortable giving, but I often can't give like I want to give. And so my go-to is to not. Um, I feel like sometimes my gifts are better given as just being present as often as I can, to disengage from my phone, to leave the phone turned off, the ringer turned off, to be present in the room, to be engaged in conversation. And I know that sounds petty, but in today's society, that's kind of a big deal. That is a gift. Sometimes the gift is my time. It's, hey, I've got a Saturday. I'm going to spend the Saturday helping you do this thing. Hey, I'm going to spend this time helping someone else, someone I don't know. That gift makes me feel better as a person. That gift makes me sleep better. When someone gives me something, it's really awkward for me because I don't exactly know how to receive it properly. And I don't exactly know why. I don't know. I guess because we grew up really poor. Um, we weren't given a lot of things, and things weren't important. It was never emphasized that things were important, and they weren't. Because at the end of your life, you're not going to be like, oh, thank goodness I had 5 BMWs. No, you're not going to remember that part. You're going to remember laughing with the people that you've grown up with and struggled with the people that you struggled with and succeeded with the people you succeeded with. And you're going to think about all the things that you wish you would have done and the places you wished you would have gone and, whatever. Those are the things you're going to think about, not, oh, I am so glad that I worked all that extra overtime. I worked with a guy one time. I told him, I said, listen, I'm really concerned that you're going to die. And on your headstone, your final words are going to be, oh, I could have worked some more. At what point is it enough? I'm 48. I know that retirement is around the corner. It's close enough that I need to be paying attention more. And I have been paying attention more. I've started doing an employee purchase program for stock at work, and it's been offered over the last year, but I have not yet figured it out until recently. And I've started purchasing some stock in our company because my company happens to give us a 15% discount on stock, which is pretty good, pretty darn good. 15%, think about it. That's free money. So why not invest? Why not invest in yourself, right? At every step of the way, I hope I'm making the right choices, but I won't know until it's probably too late, just like everybody else. We talk to people who are considered financial people and say, hey, is this the right thing? And they go, yeah, we think so. Okay, great. I'm glad you think so. So if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're struggling with things and you're going, I wish Josh had the answers. I don't have the answers. I can have conversation with you. I can debate some of these things with you as well and help you also feel just as confused as I am about whether or not things are the right things or not. We can distract each other with discussions about Star Wars and multiverses and Marvel Universe and whatever the latest TV show is that's really cool that maybe one of us has seen. I can talk about all kinds of stuff. I can distract myself and I can distract others pretty well. I can also, when it's time, put boots to the ground and make things happen. But the in between stuff is the stuff that's difficult. This podcast, this 4-year anniversary of this podcast, this is as compelling as it is difficult to do because in 4 years, I felt like I have achieved a lot of the things that I wanted to achieve. And yet I've also not made some of the connections that I wished I could have had time to do. There's a lot of people that I want to have conversations with that just haven't worked out. There's a lot of people out there that are uncomfortable with their own voice. Like they hear themselves on audio or video and they're like, I just don't like the way I sound. Why are you concerned about that? I mean, I get it. The first time I heard myself, I was like, God, I can't believe that's what I sound like. But also, who are you in your own life? Are you a supporting character or are you the main character? Why not be the main character and have your own story told by you? Like, even if it's not your story, what if your dialogue is the only thing left of you after we turn it into dust? What if that's the legacy that you leave behind? What if there are generational kids down the road that grow up and go, geez, I wonder what they were like? I mean, maybe that's why I'm doing this. Maybe because I've had the curiosity about my ancestors and without the ability to hear their voice or to see their face other than maybe a really grainy, crappy picture, um, All I can do is imagine. And maybe I want to do this to alleviate that imagination and give some clarity. And maybe it helps. I don't know. I'm thankful to the people who have supported this podcast and the people who have been a part of it and the people who have encouraged me along the way. Even some constructive criticism from time to time of the volume levels, or the fact that maybe there's a problem with the video or the problem with the intro, or hey, you screwed up and you did the same thing twice. Listen, I'm not perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I hope that I'm learning along the way to help you guys learn, because I get other people saying, I'm thinking about starting my own. Do you have any suggestions? Yes, I do. I got a lot of suggestions. Not exactly what'll work for you, but I can tell you what I've done and sort of help you navigate what to do next. But like anything else, I can help, but you have to do the work. And that's it. Do the work. Set your alarm clocks. Get up early. Do your thing. Make the world proud of who you are. Make them take notice. Make them say your name out loud and be like, man, glad that person's involved. Whew. Sure couldn't have got it done without him. And then take a compliment. Learn to say thank you. But don't let it go to your head. Go forward. Do great things. Not because you feel like you want the recognition, because you'll get it, but because it's what drives you anyway. And let it be part of your character. That's it. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you to my wife, especially, for tolerating me with this obsession. I know it hasn't been easy. And yeah. Thank you. Y'all take care. Thanks for listening. And as always, cue the cow.
So I want you guys to give me more likes. Give me more likes!